Dozens of Palestinians have clashed with Israeli troops in Bethlehem in the West Bank. Well, protesters throwing stones at Israeli security forces there. They're responding in turn with stun grenades. In Jerusalem, an Israeli policeman shot and killed a Palestinian man suspected of premeditating a knife attack. An Israeli woman was also injured after being stabbed. Her attacker was shot dead. Let's look at the map. Violence has been breaking out almost daily since last week, mostly in Jerusalem. I think we can go to a map to show you where the latest events have been happening. The yellow dots, there. Yellow dots you can see on that map show where Israelis were stabbed to death. The blue dots, they're places, locations where Palestinians have been killed. In fact, if you total it up, at least 8 Israelis, 30 Palestinians have died since the start of October. So how's it got to this most recently? Let's recap. The region's worst violence began last month. A group of Palestinians, you may recall, that barricaded themselves inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City. They claim the Israelis were trying to take over what is to them a sacred site. That's where it's all kicked off. Israel responded by deploying hundreds of police. Now then, those clashes and attacks have spread across the West Bank. And some foreigners have found themselves caught up in the Israeli-Palestinian crossfire too lately. We spoke to one British volunteer who was seriously attacked and injured by a group of Israelis.
We were on the ground and we suddenly saw about 8 settlers with masks over their faces. The 8 settlers came down the hill and attacked me. My 2 colleagues were there. They were standing. I was sitting on the ground. Settlers came down. They were throwing stones. 2 stones hit me. And then a young man came very, very close. He stood over me with a rock about this size and threw it down on my head. And then 3 of them kicked me. The settlers were pursuing us. My colleagues were shouting before we were attacked, "We are British." So the settlers knew that we were internationals. They have no excuse to say they thought we were Palestinian. It's not good enough even if we were Palestinian, but we were internationals. We are guests in this country. This was no accident. This was an attack.
Later on, the Israeli settlers who attacked the aid workers were spotted destroying a car belonging to a Palestinian. As the tension heats up on both sides, Israeli authorities are bolstering checkpoints too. Our Middle East correspondent Paula Sleer has the latest on that.
The Israeli government is introducing new measures to try and deal with the security situation, and among these is the call-up of hundreds of Israeli soldiers as reinforcements to police on the streets of Jerusalem. I'm at one of the entrances to the Old City, and normally you would not see policemen standing around here. This is a makeshift metal detector that has also been put up here. The police are calling random people to come and have them walk through here. They're also checking the papers and the IDs of particularly people of Arab descent. Now, at the same time, at the entrances to many Arab neighborhoods here in East Jerusalem, roadblocks have been set up. The Israeli Security Cabinet also announcing that it will not return the bodies of people who carried out terror attacks against civilians will be destroyed within a week, and it will not return the bodies of those it has killed as a means of preventing them from being hailed as martyrs. The irony is that this might backfire. Critics say that in closing off Arab areas, you are merely perpetuating the anger and the violence from the grassroots. This so-called Third Intifada is a Palestinian uprising that comes from the ground. It is in being inspired and motivated on social media. Many of those carrying out attacks are youngsters. So, Paula Sleer, RT, Jerusalem.